More and more claims of bullying and harassment in the workplace are emerging in New Zealand. The concept of spotting psychological distress and looking after an employee's mental well-being in the workplace is also a fairly new concept for many. So whether it's stress, fatigue or bullying, what is an employer's duty of care? For more, we're joined by our resident psychologist, Jacqui Maguire. Good morning, Jacqui.
Good morning, Hayley.
So what responsibility does an employer have for the mental well-being of their employees?
So in 2015, we had a new act come in place. It's called the Health and Safety at Work Act. And what that means is that organisations and leaders within those organisations have a responsibility to care for the mental health and well-being of their people, which means we have to actively promote psychological well-being, prevent psychological harm and remove discrimination based on mental health.
How is this observed? I mean, do all employers know about this?
Yes, so I imagine for most people in New Zealand, when you become a leader or a manager or a chief executive, you have not had psychological training and you have not spent 10 years at university, like my peers, learning how to spot signs of mental illness, which means we have a legal responsibility but probably a gap in competency and confidence in doing that. So organisations have to look really hard at what are we expecting from our people and how do we back them. So, should I keep going?
Please, keep going, yes.
So, at Umbrella, which is where I work, we look at mental health and wellbeing at 3 tiers in the organisation. So, how do we support individuals at an individual level to spot signs of concern in themselves and in their peers? So, if I see someone at work that perhaps is struggling or not themselves, I know what to look out for and I can go, hey, are you okay? And I feel like I know how to do that safely and effectively.
It is quite a hard thing to do, though, to approach somebody and say, hey, I'm feeling that you're not okay.
Absolutely.
It feels a little bit sort of aggressive or like you're pointing them out.
Yeah, and again, I think if we collectively as organisations train people and upskill people in awareness for this, we can help have really good guidelines about how to do that in a way that's not confronting, that's not going to get people's backs up and be defensive. So part of that is how do we train leaders or people to know about kind of what tone to use, how to be authentic and genuine, to not ask someone if they're okay when 10 of their colleagues are standing beside them, because you're right, they're going to be honest with you then. So it's training like that, which is really important.
Is it also just not pointing out someone who looks like they're not okay? Is it just a general environment and culture in the workplace that people need to make sure is healthy?
Yeah, so that's what we would call a psychologically safe workplace, which says that people feel like they have got trust in their colleagues and leaders and that the environment is conducive of raising when you have concerns. And when we look at that, leadership is critical. So when we look at culture, if the leaders are modelling the behaviour that we want to see, the rest of the organisation is more likely to follow suit. Because if our leaders or our organisation is doing the opposite to what they're saying, which sometimes happens, right? We really want this to happen, but all our systems in place kind of block that. It means it's very unlikely people will speak up. So when we look at leadership behaviour from that angle, it's are leaders competent? So have they had training to know what to do if someone raises that bullying is happening in the workplace, for example, or they've spotted someone that's concerned? Are they consistent? It's the same thing with parenting. You know, if leaders and parents in that instance are consistent, you're more likely to say something because you'll know you'll get a good response. Do they care? Are they benevolent? So my leaders have to show that they actually give a damn about me, otherwise I'm unlikely to raise something. And do I hold integrity? So am I able to know that my leader is a good person with good values and good ethics and they care about us? So it's like from that leadership component, they're really important in this.
Are there some industries that have less safe workplaces than others? Because there are, you know, the old school model of the workplace is aggressive, you know, you have to be a bit hard-nosed.
Yeah. It's interesting, when you look at the research around factors in the workplace that lead to stress, there are many, some of them including lack of clarity, lack of autonomy, organisational injustice, so it's not fair, for example. When you look at those factors, they are more prominent in leading to stress than my job factor. So, for example, I might be a firefighter and might see really stressful things on the job. But the research is clear that it's the context around that is far more stressful than actually the job.
So I think this is widespread. Supported.
Yeah, totally, Hayley. So I don't think we can say there's just a certain industry. I don't think we should be throwing stones from glass houses. I think every industry can look and say, how are we looking after our people? What are the stresses that impact our organisation or our culture? And how do we collectively work together to help enhance that?
Excellent.
New Zealanders are very good at doing the better than just what we need to. Let's do better than average. So we say, why not support people to flourish and thrive and be amazing, just rather than doing the bare minimum of looking after their mental illness and mental health.
I love that. You help us flourish and thrive here. Jacqui Maguire, thank you for your time this morning.